things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. You changed the rules. There are certain things that you can't ever change. All I ask is that you do the right thing. The right thing for everyone.
The rules have changed. We are really starting to pick up momentum now. After years of being at a standstill with COD zombie ciphers, exhausted efforts, and honestly not much hope in sight, all of our hard work is finally starting to pay off. In the last 5 months alone, we have solved the final Gorod Krovi cipher, we made real progress on one of the Revelation ciphers, Rev-11, which I've already made 2 separate videos on. Those will be linked below if you need to catch up, because what we're covering today doesn't just mark new progress on a different Revelation cipher, but it completely changes everything. It changes how we approach solving these going forward, potentially how they relate to the impossible Easter egg, because this is without a doubt the most groundbreaking discovery we have ever made regarding the Revelation ciphers, because it doesn't just relate to one of them, but all of them. To understand what has just transpired, we need to quickly talk about something important: the concept of classical encryption and modern encryption, and the difference between them. I'll keep this short, but you all need to hear this. Classical encryption is the old school way of hiding secret messages. It dates all the way back to ancient Rome and remained prominent all the way up through World War II. This older style of encryption is what we've seen used for every single Call of Duty zombie cipher so far. Most commonly techniques like substitution ciphers, where the basic principle is replacing letters or symbols using a specific method, or a transposition cipher, where you rearrange the letters in a structured way. Within those categories, we've seen dozens of variations used by Jason Blundell over the years, such as Vigneer, Caesar shifts, Enigma, Hill ciphers, ADGFX, Playfairs, straddling checkerboards, and many, many more. Now, the weakness with classical encryption is that once you identify the cipher type, it becomes vulnerable to something we call frequency analysis, where you can spot patterns and brute force possibilities. You don't always even need the original key. In fact, many zombie ciphers were solved via this method without the cipher key. And with modern computers and tools, brute forcing has gotten a lot stronger. Now, for a video game Easter egg, classical encryption is perfect, because Blundell wants the players to eventually find the secrets, even if they take years. But as the world has evolved, technology has become more advanced, classical encryption has become too insecure for the modern world. So in the 1970s, a new type of encryption started to be developed. That's when modern encryption was born. Without modern encryption, we wouldn't have things like online banking, secure websites, or private messaging. To put it really simply, modern encryption doesn't just rearrange letters, it uses mathematical algorithms to encode bits of information. And here's the key difference: even if you identify the cipher type, brute forcing isn't a realistic possibility. So the only feasible way to solve these ciphers would be if the correct key was intentionally given. Now, this is something we've always been aware of, but we've never seriously pursued the modern encryption angle. The reason being, Blundell himself has talked about this topic in interviews. Take this one for example. This is an interview article with PlayStation Trophies from 2016, where Jason says that he prefers to use encryption methods from before the 1960s to keep things in the spirit of a fair Easter egg hunt. He also talks about the varying difficulty of these secrets, some being easy for new players, some being intermediate, hard, and some that are downright impossible. He also makes some interesting comments on this again with MrDalekJD, where he discusses the classical encryption techniques he uses and how he can still make them incredibly difficult to solve.
God damn it. I think I mentioned this in previous videos, just kind of going from the question of, did I know how hard it was going to be making that? The old techniques for encrypting something are just as good today. We get really kind of obsessed with the fact that we've got computers, and yes, there are internet pages you can go to and put it in and run it, or little programs you can run and it'll do brute force, attacks on stuff.
Yeah.
But guess what? It doesn't actually take that much to make those things very, very slow.
Okay.
And/or, because here's the thing, and they say this about hacking and other things. You can never obfuscate something completely. What you can do is make it so boring and laborious that people give up.
Right.
So it's possible, using even old techniques and old encryption techniques, to make something so long and laborious that people won't get through it.
Wow. And then they'll just give up.
And it can be using hundreds and hundreds of years old techniques to make it. I don't need to do PGP or some other crazy encryption stuff. I can use a very, very old technique and sometimes combine it with other kind of simple techniques.
Yeah.
And that will stop any person and any web page for you say 3 years. It's great.
So for years, because of these comments, we believe that Jason Blundell stayed away from modern encryption entirely. And because of that belief, we never dared to go down that path until today. This new breakthrough comes from a friend of mine who's been on an absolute tear recently, JessesOcean. Just a couple months ago, Jesse solved the final Gold Crovey cipher. He's been crowned a king in my Discord, and deservedly so. But instead of taking time off, he kept digging. And now he's found something remarkable with Revelation cipher number 10. Rev-10, the cipher in the spotlight today, is located in the Shangri-La section of Revelation, on top of the stone wall next to Stamina, which you can barely see in game, only for a few seconds while riding the Wonder Sphere from spawn. The only way to get a good look at this is in theater mode or no clip. This book style cipher is one of multiple in Revelations, but this one in particular is what we call a hexadecimal string, which is a sequence of data formatted in base 16. Base 16 means that it only contains the first 6 letters of the alphabet, A to F, and 10 numbers being 0 through to 9. And as you can see, it's quite a lengthy cipher with 3,734 characters. Like all the Rev ciphers, we have spent a large amount of time trying to attack them, mostly with classical encryption methods. Although there have been attempts made in the past with modern encryption, like we discussed, it's just a completely different ballgame, and without knowing the exact key, it's a bit of a pointless venture. However, there has been a pattern that we have noticed recently, which first dates all the way back to 2016, with this arcade ticket cipher on Revelations, which was solved shortly after the map came out. This cipher has the keyword zombies on it. That same key was then used a couple months ago on Rev number 11, which we believed we cracked the first layer of. Then more recently, in the Gold Crovey cipher, the keyed alphabet included the word zombies as well. So as obvious as the keyword zombies is, we have started to see it be used frequently. And you're probably thinking, surely we've tried zombies on everything by now, which is true. But the point is that because of the complexity of these ciphers, there's usually a prerequisite before using the zombies provides any result, which is what makes this process so tricky, because even if we have the right idea, if it's not completed in the correct order, there's still no progress. So, being in a bit of a creative drought with ideas, and despite Jason's comments, Jesse decided to have a play with some modern encryption tools, in particular the cipher type called RC4. Here you can see I'm going to take our Rev-10 hex string and pop it into our RC4 online tool. As an example, I'm going to input some guesses at what the keyword could be, attempts that we've tried in the past, which are obviously zombie related words like Monty or even Primus. And as you can see, the decrypted result is pretty much just a bunch of unintelligible symbols. Even if we use our previous suspicious keyword zombies, still nothing. But that didn't stop Jesse trying. He persevered and found something groundbreaking. He decided to try all variations of the word zombies, like the word fully capitalized or even reversed. Then, he simply capitalizes the Z, and out of nowhere, holy shit, we have something. As you can see here, this decrypts not into gibberish, but into a series of numbers, something coherent and structured. We wouldn't be seeing this unless we had successfully decrypted a layer. What we are seeing here is an octal sequence, which means all the present numbers in this text all range from 0 to 7. We can now take this octal and convert it back to plain text, resulting in this, which is another string of hex, but this time it is significantly shrunken in length with only 466 characters and 233 bytes of information. And this is the point we have progressed to so far. You can imagine Jesse's excitement after finding this, after all these dead-end attempts, finally a result. To put it bluntly, we are fucking stunned. Not just because we have cracked layers of another Revelation cipher, but because it's confirmed that modern encryption was used. This completely changes everything. It changes our approach with the rest of the Revelation ciphers, it contradicts the comments made by Blundell himself, and most of all, it's likely going to make solving these so much harder. All the signs pointed away from modern encryption. The fact that Jesse was testing with this specific cipher type and guessed the exact right key is so insane. So to recap the progress, we started off with the cipher being a long string of hex. We then decrypted through RC4, the modern encryption tool, with the keyword zombies with a capital Z. We then took the resulting octal sequence, decoded it, and ended up back with hex string, only this time much shorter. One thing we were a bit disappointed by is that when you look at Rev-10, you think, holy shit, this is going to be a huge secret message with heaps of lore. But now we have decoded the first couple layers, it's clear that whatever this message is, it's a lot smaller than we'd hoped for. The problem we have now is that although we have made the most significant progress to date, we are pretty much back at square one with Rev-10. We started off with hex string, and now we have landed back with hex string. And from the analysis we have done on it now, it seems like the last layer is also encrypted by some type of modern cipher, like Char 20. It's 466 characters long and 233 bytes, which is an awkward number to deal with. We often look for the number of bytes and what that number could be divided by, because that can indicate the cipher type, but because 233 is a prime number and it's only divisible by itself, we can't learn much from that. This has all happened in the last week, so this is a very recent discovery. Jesse and I decided the best thing to do is to get this information out there because we need all the help we can get. Although the cipher is now very close to being solved, the last step may prove very difficult. The more eyes we have on this, the better. There may be something we've missed. To be honest, confirmation that Jason Blundell has used modern encryption is pretty shocking, and it's going to make our lives a whole lot harder. But at least we know for sure now that this is on the cards, and we can explore a whole new avenue of thinking, meaning we're going to revisit every single Revelation cipher with this new outlook. These ciphers are going to be near impossible, genuinely. We know now not only do they have multiple layers of encryption, but some of those layers use modern encryption. And as I mentioned earlier, there is actually a growing belief that these ciphers have to relate to the impossible Easter egg, because in terms of the difficulty that Blundell talked about, these definitely fall under the impossible category. There is a clear distinction between the 4 solved ciphers on Rev and the 10 that remain unsolved after almost a decade. And I've already started working off this idea along with some more discoveries that have been made recently. So a new impossible Easter egg video is in the works. Once again, huge credit to Jesse. That man is unreal. Him and my whole Discord has put so much effort in recent years into these COD Zombie Easter eggs and ciphers. It's so cool to see Jesse's hard work pay off. He's really creating a hell of a legacy for himself in the zombies community. It's crazy to think after all this time, we are still making these massive discoveries in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Rev-10 is so close to being solved, and we are about to uncover another decade-long secret. Speaking of secrets, keen viewers of this channel will have noticed some weird occurrences in some of my past videos. These ones specifically. And this video holds the last clue that ties it all together.